The third of my series deals with the undermining of Jewish toponymy. This entails the claim that most of the Hebrew place names used by Israelis are applied to places with pre-existing Arabic names so as to enforce the Jews' colonialist claims. As Palestinian academic Mitri Raheb says, quote, "Naming is a means to exercise power, to claim dominance over land and people, and it constitutes an important aspect of settler-colonial projects," unquote. This point may well be true, but its application is not in the direction that Raheb intends. The Israelis' use of Hebrew names for pre-Islamic places is, in fact, a decolonizing endeavor focused on the pre-existing names supplanted by Arabic ones following the Muslim settler-colonial project that began in the 7th century. There are some genuine Arabic names for places in the land of Israel, either for places founded during the period of Islamic dominion, such as Ramla, which name Israelis retain in Hebrew, or as alternatives to pre-existing Hebrew and Aramaic names, such as Al-Khalil for biblical Hebron. Yet most of the Arabic names for pre-Islamic places represent, in fact, different Arabic pronunciations of the pre-existing Hebrew or Aramaic names, just like the Arabicized Hebrew names Ismail, Ibrahim, Ishaq, Yaqub, and most of the other prophets in Islam. Thus, for example, Arabic Beit Lachem is Beit Lechem, Bethlehem. Arabic Batir is Hebrew Betar. Arabic Asqalan is Ashkelon. Arabic Safad is Hebrew Tzafat. Arabic Aricha or Richa is Hebrew Yericho, Jericho. Arabic Yibna is Hebrew Yavne. Arabic Beit Jibrin is Beit Guvrin. Arabic Jinin is Ein Ganim in Hebrew, mentioned in Joshua 15:34. Arabic Tuku is Hebrew Tekoa. Arabic Safuria is Hebrew Tzipori, or Sephoris. Arabic Tulkarm is Turkarma. Arabic Al-Majdal is Magdala, also known as Migdal Nunaya, and the list goes on and on. Especially instructive are the variety of names used for Jerusalem by medieval Arabic authors. Among the pre-Islamic poets and Arabs in the early generations of Islam, as noted by the great Muslim geographer Abu Ubaid al-Bakri in the 11th century, in his book Mujam Mastajama, the city was known by the names Ilia, from the Latin name Aelia Capitolina, to which Hadrian had renamed Jerusalem following the Bar Kokhba revolt in 136 CE, the name Sihyun or Tzihun, from Hebrew Tzion, Zion, and the name Shalom, Shalim, or Salim, from Hebrew Shalem. Another name for Jerusalem, well attested in the classical Arab sources, is represented by various Arabicized pronunciations of Hebrew Yerushalayim and Aramaic Yerushalem, such pronunciations being Urshalim, Orishalim, Urshalam, etc. This clearly gives the lie to academic Noor Masalha's claim, made in his recent book, Palestine, A 4,000-Year History, that the name Urshalim was coined by Israel in 1967 as a quote-unquote new word in order to replace the proper Arabic name Al-Quds on road signs as part of Israel's nefarious settler-colonial plan of Judaization. Masalha could easily have verified the currency of the name Urshalim in classical Arabic sources via recourse to Yaqut or the Second Encyclopedia of Islam. Yet instead he chose to cite and rely on an article posted on the viciously anti-Semitic and unscholarly website, the Electronic Intifada. Among the two most prevalent names for Jerusalem in the classical Arabic sources are Beit al-Maqdis and, mainly from the 11th century, Al-Quds, which latter name eventually came to replace all others. Both of these names are in fact abbreviated calques, or literal loan translations, of earlier Hebrew and Jewish Aramaic designations for the city that specifically reference the Jewish temple. Beit al-Maqdis is an abbreviation of Madinat Beit al-Maqdis, which is a calque of Hebrew Ir Beit HaMikdash and Aramaic Karta de Beit Maqdisha, both literally meaning the city of the house of the sanctuary, in which the house of the sanctuary refers to the temple. As to the name Al-Quds, it is an abbreviation of Madinat al-Quds, which is a calque of Hebrew Ir HaKodesh and Aramaic Karta de Kudsha, both literally meaning the city of holiness, in which the specific reference of Kodesh or Kudsha is to the temple, that is, the place of holiness par excellence. Further affirming the Hebrew and Aramaic origin of these two names, Bait al-Maqdis and al-Quds, is the observation that, unlike the Hebrew and Aramaic root Kadash, the cognate Arabic root Qadasa is not the normal root employed in Muslim Arabic to denote a sanctuary or the idea of sacredness/holiness. For this, Muslim writers employ the root Harama, as in the designation of Mecca as al-Masjid al-Haram, the sacred mosque, or as in the designation now employed for the Temple Mount, al-Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary, which latter expression, as noted in the article on it in the Second Encyclopedia of Islam, was still not considered proper for that site in the 14th century and, quote, would seem to have been imposed by popular usage rather than by full agreement on the unified holiness of the area, unquote. As regards this last point, finally, we would point out that the holiness, or hurma in Arabic, of the Temple Mount, and hence its designation as a haram, or sanctuary, let alone al-Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary, is nowhere mentioned in the Quran, nor is this an attested dogma of early Islam. For several generations, it was even debated among early Islamic scholars whether the expression al-Masjid al-Aqsa, the furthermost mosque, in the Quran refers to the Temple Mount at all, which, on the face of it, certainly does not seem to fit with the description of the land of Israel elsewhere in the Quran as Adnal Ard, which means the very near land. Nor did the eventual consensus among Muslim scholars that this Quranic mosque is to be identified with the Temple Mount automatically translate into its status as a holy site, or haram. Even at the beginning of the 14th century, the great Muslim theologian Ibn Taymiyyah, known as Shaykh al-Islam, the elder of Islam, decidedly rejects the notion that there is any holy site, or haram, in the land of Israel. He writes in a special treatise devoted to exaggerated popular Muslim claims about Jerusalem and the land of Israel, quote, "There is no place in Jerusalem, Bait al-Maqdis, designated by Allah as a holy site, nor at the burial site of Abraham in Hebron, nor in any other location, except for 3 places in total. The first is a holy site, according to the unanimous agreement of all Muslims, which is the holy site of Mecca. The second is a holy site, according to the multitude of scholars, which is the holy site of the Prophet, that's Medina. And the third is Waj, which is a valley in At-Taif, that's a town in Arabia to the southeast of Mecca, which, he goes on, is a holy site according to Ash-Shafi'i, but not according to most scholars. There is not one Muslim scholar, writes Ibn Taymiyyah, who claims a holy site, haram, beyond these 3 places," unquote. It was only after the view of the Temple Mount as an Islamic holy site, al-Haram al-Sharif, became entrenched in popular Islamic dogma during the Ottoman period from the 16th century that the view of the site as the 3rd holiest in Islam would eventually gain ubiquitous traction among both Muslims and non-Muslims alike. This view of the site as Islam's 3rd holiest was promoted in particular by the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem and Nazi ally Muhammad Amin al-Husseini, who, in the interest of promoting this notion in his propaganda war against the Jews, commissioned the renovation of Qubat al-Sakhra, that's the Dome of the Rock, and the mosque at the southern end of the mount, the dilapidated state of both of which hardly bespoke of treatment as an Islamic holy site, let alone the 3rd holiest in all of Islam. Since then, this view has been regularly deployed by Palestinian exponents and others ignorant of the view's history as an inherently equal or even superior counterpoint to the view of the site as Judaism's holiest, which is rooted in biblical antiquity. In conclusion, in each of the 3 areas that we've addressed, the unbroken Jewish presence in the land, the historical continuity of Jewish identity, and the antiquity of Jewish toponymy, A careful examination of the data reveals that the Palestinian narrative, which would deny these things to the Jewish people and apply them instead to the descendants of the Arab Muslims who colonized and gradually migrated to the Jewish homeland over the last 1400 years, is in fact an inversion of reality. There are many academics who know the truth about these things. Some of them, however, have chosen to sacrifice their consciences and place their commitment to a morally bankrupt and ultimately anti-Semitic ideology before truth. To these I say, simply, shame on you. You have allied yourselves with the harbingers of true academia's demise. Other academics have been cowed and bullied into silence by a growing chorus of their anti-Zionist peers, fearful of being branded with a blue Z, the new scarlet letter of establishment censure. To these latter I repeat the moral admonition of the first century Galilean sage Yaakov Bar Yosef, quote, "Therefore, to the one who knows the right thing to do and doesn't do it, to him it is sin," unquote. Now is the time for you to add your voice to those fighting back against the Goliath of collective falsehoods deployed by modern-day Philistines to undermine and erase the indigenous connection of the Jewish people to their land.